Alright, welcome back to Backyard Mechanics to see how to put in your front drive axle on 2000 Toyota Tundra. Here we have three front drive axles. They are universal for left or right. The first one that we have is the original that I took out from my truck. I took it out because over the winter it had cracked from the cold, 40 below, and there's grease sputtering out, and so I knew I needed to get that fixed. The two that I have there are remanufactured, and I bought those with extreme cold weather CV boots that are made out of neoprene to withstand the cold. There are some differences if you look at these on the housings of the left side there. If you notice, the flanges look a little bit different. Don't be alarmed, they're remanufactured. They just kind of use whichever parts that they have, and the important part is the length and the diameter of your drive shaft to make sure that that's the same. So I'm just taking these out to compare them. Another thing that you're going to notice if you take a closer look is the dust seals right there on the original and right there on the newer model. And then if we look at this one, it doesn't have one. And when we look on the other side, it's the same thing. There are not dust seals on that third one, but there are on the original one and the second one. Don't be alarmed by this. Some manufacturers put them on, some don't. If you want that on for your truck, I would definitely double check and make sure that they're there. But I, for one, they told me it's not that big of a deal, and that the dust seals are not really that important. So first we're going to take our first drive shaft and we're going to get a plastic bag in place over the inner housing. The reason why we're doing this, we've got to slide it into kind of a tight fit to get it to the differential, and I want to put this on so that it doesn't cause or get any dirt or grime on it. If you can see the differential entrance right back there, that little hole that's dripping gear oil, that's what we're going to go to, and we're going to slide it right in this tight spot here, just right underneath the engine. And once we set that in there, we're going to go underneath the truck and we're going to take that plastic bag off. You can see all the dirt and oil on that plastic bag that could potentially be on your shaft right there with all the splines. We don't want that. Make sure you have your snap ring on that I just pointed out, and just slide that into the differential. Be careful while you're doing this that the outer shaft the CV boot isn't being torn up or caught on anything sharp while you're doing this. You don't want to have a brand new drive shaft axle and tear your CV boot. You're just going to have to go buy another one. So what I'm doing here, I'm just kind of lining up the teeth on the gear shaft with the teeth on the differential and just getting it set in place. If you notice up there on the housing, there's a little lip, and I'm going to get some sort of bar. You can really use anything to pound this in. So I'm going to set it up on the lip, and just as we took it off, I'm going to pound it into the differential, and it should go in nice and easy. Once you get all the teeth lined up, a couple pounds and it sets. That snap ring is designed to hold it in place and keep it from easily popping out. So now that we've done that on the differential, we're going to go back out and we're going to clean up our brake assembly there, and we're going to get the outer shaft and we're going to slide that in. Make sure your teeth are lined up. You may need to kind of twist it back and forth a little bit, and it should easily slide in. So now that it's in place, we're going to get our drive axle hub nut, and we're going to screw that onto the drive axle shaft. I'm just going to do that finger tight just to keep it in place while I take my steering knuckle, and we need to put that onto the steering arm that has the 4 bolts that holds that whole assembly together. That's what I'm doing there, and I'm going to show you the 4 bolts. I'm putting one on right there, as you can kind of see. There's 2 nuts or 2 bolts in the front, and you can kind of see them right there. I'm going to point those out. That's one there and one in front of it, and we're going to go around the back side, and there's going to be 2 more right there. You can kind of see those. So once you put your 4 bolts on, make sure you put some Loctite on just to make sure that the vibrations aren't going to knock that loose, and it'll keep those bolts on there. We're going to go ahead and speed through that and go to the next step. So now that that's on, we're going to get our drive axle hub nut, and we're going to tighten that on as tight as we can without that bearing or the drive shaft spinning. Here, if you have a large crowbar, you can place it into the lug nuts for good leverage. I didn't have a long enough crowbar, so you can see I have a wrench in there in between the lug nuts, and a large pipe that I've got just to use for leverage so I can tighten that on there. You need to get a torque wrench and set that drive axle hub nut at 173 foot-pounds. So once that is on at your set length, you need to put on that star nut, as you can see right there, and that is going to be lined up with a hole to put your cotter pin in, and that's just a safety mechanism to keep that drive axle hub nut from ever twisting off or coming off while you're driving. Once your cotter pin's set in place, just bend it back so that it's locked in, and get your outer dust seal cover, and you're just going to pound that in until it seats all the way. This is really important that you get that seated in all the way, and try not to mar it up around the edges. It's keeping the dirt out from those teeth inside that drive shaft. And if you get dirt in there, it's just going to wear those teeth down a lot sooner. I like to make sure anything is cleaned up right around there in case I need to see if there's any grease or oil spitting out from that point. Now you're going to get your brake rotor, and you're just going to slide that on. It should set right on there. I would recommend getting some nuts and some washers and placing on there so that that brake rotor is on nice and tight and snug for when you put your brake caliper on. You can see here in a second the brake rotor kept kind of slipping off, and I have a feeling now that it may have caused some vibration when I brake. It's something I need to check into. So now you get your brake caliper. You may need to squeeze those brake pads in and open that up just like you did when you took it off to slide it back on. Sometimes they may have slid back out. And once you get them spread far enough apart, it should just slide right in. And once you get that brake caliper in, I'm not going to show it because there's only 2 bolts on the back there, but just tighten those 2 bolts down and put your wheel on. You should be good to go. Make sure that you don't go on any high-speed roads. Just kind of drive around a safe place to check your brakes and make sure that they're working properly, and listen for any sounds or noises. I hope this was helpful, and thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to put any comments down. I'd love to hear more suggestions from you guys. Thank you again, and have a great day.